Hello everybody, my name is Palan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to count down the top 5 nature monsters in Monster Legends. You have to know that all of this is my opinion and that I rank these monsters by how good they are in battle. Keep in mind that this is in the context of Team Wars and not PvP, so let's get started with defense. The best nature monsters for defense are General Alces, Oser the Brave, and Laomu. This is because of their trait, which is either Hardened, Tough, or Bulwark. Monsters who have immunity to stun are also pretty good in defense though. However, if there is a nature magic war, the best nature monsters for defense in a war like that are undeniably Alce's Pet and Kiradar because of their immunity to possession. Anyways, let's move on to the top 5 offensive nature monsters for wars. Starting off at number 5 is General Alces. This one was a really hard choice between the Judgment and General Alces, but I think Alces is a lot more practical than Judgment in wars. So to start off with, General Alces has a pretty low power of 3300. This power isn't really low for nature monsters, rather average, nothing special though. Moving on, his lifesteal is 30,461, which is pretty impressive even for nature monsters. His speed is very good as well, 3,432. This is a great speed for nature monsters, though he definitely still gets outsped. His trait is Stuff, which all the generals and most of their pets have, and this is an amazing trait to have, really no complaints there. Moving on to skills, he has a lot of good ones. He has a single stun with self-regeneration, which really comes in handy in wars. And if I recall correctly, he's also the only monster who has 100% ally heal skill, and even though this has a 6-turn cooldown, it's really amazing. He also has a special base skill, which deals damage and dazes the enemy, and a nature based skill, which deals damage and poisons the enemy. For most wars, I'd say this guy is by far the best option for defense. For number 4, I chose Alce's Pet. Starting off, Alce's Pet has a power of 3091, which is horrible. This really doesn't matter though, since he's not an attacker. Moving on to his life stat, 28,350, which is a very decent life for legendary monsters. However, since nature monsters tend to be super bulky, this is actually below average. His speed, on the other hand, is pretty good. 3,421 is a very good speed. Still though, some nature monsters are going to outspeed this guy. His trait is immunity to possession, which is, as I've already mentioned, extremely good for defense on nature/magic wars. Moving on to skills, his main one is Autumn Effect. It's an AoE that withers the enemies and gives them shield block. Basically what wither means is instead of them regenerating their health, it disintegrates. For example, if you had regeneration, meaning that you would heal by 20% each turn, instead of healing, you lose 20% of health each turn. This really is amazing, especially since nature monsters have a lot of healing and regeneration skills. He can follow that up with Poison Remedy and make the enemies lose 15% health, poisons them, and deals the initial damage. He also has a self-heal move called Big Corn Assault, and another move which deals damage, heals the enemy, and removes all of their positive effects. Number 3 was another tough choice between Laomu and Kiradar, but I went with Laomu as the better monster here. Kiradar is the new nature monster, and as of the time of making this video, she hasn't even been available yet. I'm really hoping that she isn't going to be last in the Guardians of Earth Progressive Island, but she most likely will be. I'll make a video on that event as soon as it goes live. Anyways, let's move on to Kiradar. She has a power of 3,454, which is very high for nature monsters, a life stat of 28,651, which is pretty decent, and a very nice speed of 3,432, just like General Alces. Her trait is just like with Alce's Pet, immunity to possession, which again is pretty incredible for nature/magic wars. Moving on to her skills, she's an incredible attacker, and these two are her main moves. The first one is called Chimpanzees in Vines, and it deals good damage and makes all the enemies, even the nature monster, very weak to nature attacks, meaning that her next attack, Bubbles and Friends, will most likely sweep the entire enemy team. If it doesn't, however, it gives her damage boost, and she can do her Silverback Gorilla move. She also has a 0-turn cooldown stun move, and that's always incredibly useful. Number 2 is Laomu. I chose her over Kiradar, even though Kiradar sort of counters her with immunity to possession. I'll explain why in a second. To start off with, Laomu has a trash power of 3,047, a very decent nature life stat of 29,556, and an incredible speed. The highest speed of all nature monsters, in fact, along with Sarah, 3,476. Her trait is Hardened, which is an excellent trait both for offense and defense. Moving on to her skills, her best skill is Puzzlement. Basically what it does is that it possesses the enemy monster, and you might be asking yourself, why is this so special? You know, a lot of other monsters from other elements have possession skills. Basically, it's because nature monsters straight up blow. It's by far the worst element in Monster Legends, and no other nature monster actually has a possession skill. Her speed also backs this up, as she's able to possess almost any enemy monster on a level playing field. She also has a skill that does damage and poisons the enemy, as well as her other great skill, AoE random negative effects. This really comes in handy, and if you're lucky, you can even turn the tides of the game with it. The number 1 monster you've all been waiting for is Sarah. Some people say Laomu is better, but I completely disagree, especially since nature monsters with an immunity to possession exist. Let's start off with her stats. Her power is low at 3234. Lifesteal is pretty bad for nature monsters, only 27,445. Her speed, however, is where she shines. As I've mentioned before, 3476 is the highest speed of all nature monsters, and only Laomu and Sarah have this speed. Her trait is immunity to stun, which is pretty great as well. Now picture a war where it's nature and some other element. Most elements have lots of deny monsters, the exceptions being fire, light and nature, and the vast majority of the time deny monsters have stun and freeze skills on defense. So as long as Sarah goes before that deny monster, which there is a huge chance she will, since she is faster than almost any deny monster in the game, she can do her red wool shield move, which gives your entire team immunity to stun and freeze. Now you might not want to go with this strategy in a common or uncommon war just because the rarity monster will probably die from one hit. In standard wars, however, this is an amazing strat. Even if the enemy is faster than you and they use the stun move, it doesn't really matter since Sarah is immune to stun. Besides that skill, she also has a single stun move that deals damage and gives her stamina regeneration, a damaging move that also heals her, a 0 cooldown poison move, and a 0 cooldown stun move. So she can also stun the enemy deny before it can even deny her team. Again, nature is a super weird element, and some of these monsters wouldn't even be classified as top tier in other elements, just because other elements have better monsters. Some honorable mentions are of course the Judgment, who would definitely be the 6th best monster if my list were that long. Some also pretty good ones are Plymouth, Roasty, Apex, Sylvanus, Othar the Brave, and Fighter. Note that these last ones aren't really in any particular order. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.